Guys, we'll be starting in 3 minutes. 3 minutes. Okay, guys, let's get this show on the road. The 7 deadly sins of CX measurement systems and how to avoid them. So I'm going to take you on a journey which discusses how CX measurement gets done. And then I'm going to give you, at the end of this, I'm going to give you the opportunity to actually access what we refer to as the CX6, which is a way of testing measurement in such a way that you'll never ever do it any other different again. So with that in mind, it's 45 to 60 minutes. We'll do a Q&A at the end. There's some giveaways as well, and then there's an invite to some more stuff as well. So with that in mind, let's get going. Okay, so here's what we are, the BP Group. We're a bunch of people who operate as a not-for-profit around the world in association with partners, some of who you can see there. And I'm sure there's some of those in a country where you are actually at now. And we offer a host of courses and upskilling and training, consultancy and mentoring. On the left-hand side, the Certified Process Professional Program, the Accredited Customer Experience Program, the Objectives and Key Results Program, and lastly, the Certified Journey Management Plus Program. So I'll talk to you a little bit more about those offline. If you're interested, ping me, leave a message in chat or whatever. We've been doing this for the best of 30 odd years now, so we're obviously doing something right. And in total around the planet there's about 140,000 150,000 people qualified in the CEM method, the customer experience management method. So that's a little bit of it, and those are some of the folks you can see on the right hand side. There are coaches and mentors. The people I'm personally retained by, so I'm not a full-time coach or trainer. I actually am in organizations about 50 to 60% of my time doing this stuff as well. So those are just some of the organizations who I work with on the journeys. And not surprisingly, I'm going to be sharing with you some of their stories related to CX measurement. We'll also be joined by one of my colleagues, James Dawkins, who's put a video together for us to actually walk us through what the meaning of the CX6 is when we get to it. First and foremost, a little bit about myself for those folks who don't know me. In corporate land, I was Director of Technology and Operations for Citigroup for Europe, Middle East and Africa. I spent many years and happy years with those guys. And then laterally, consulting and coaching with organizations around the planet. Along the way, writing a number of books. The first one 30 odd years ago, Business Process Reengineering, the Senior Executive's Guide. And lastly, as you can see, this particular book on the right-hand side there, which is the story of Violi, the world's largest utility company, and how they've transformed themselves using the principles we're going to share and talk about today. You'll get access to some of these books. Stay on till the end, and I'll show you how you can actually do that. I'll give you a web link and all that other glorious stuff. Along the way, I've won a number of awards and notations. The last, as you can see, the top 50 CX influencers, which are nice to get because they, especially when they're peer reviewed, and it's people who you know in the communities, people in the organization. So I'm also a qualified medical hypnotherapist, but I promise you I'm not going to hypnotize you today. I'm a neurolinguistic programming master. I'm also a Reiki level 3. And people go, gee, Steve, that's so different to what you're doing today. And I go, no, it's all about patterns. And precisely what we're talking about today is CX measurement is a pattern. So with that in mind, let's talk about getting us all to be winners in and around CX measurement. Not also runs, not in back place or whatever. We want to be out there and we want to win the race. So how do we go about doing that? We need to ask ourselves the question about how we're doing customer experience measurement and metrics at the moment. And as I've said, the traditional measures are often subjective, rearward facing, and unfortunately subject to manipulation. And some of those measurement systems as well, they may have worked well in the last century, but they passed the sell-by date, their use-by date 20, 25 years ago in many instances. What we need are forward-thinking measures, forward-looking measures, so we can see around the next corner. We can actually perceive what's coming down the pike rather than waiting until it's gone past us, and then oftentimes it's too late to react. And indeed, we now have the tools and the technologies which can actually help us do that. So we need to change. But ultimately, when you're thinking about this as well, the guy who invented Net Promoter Score, when he's saying things like this, we need to get more scientific. It's not good enough that we have those rearward facing subjective measures anymore. And I think Fred puts it quite well, the people's selfish objectives will get in the way and manipulate the systems. But rather than just talk about the conjecture of it, let's look at some of the evidence of that. So there's a bunch of slides here. Don't worry, I'm not going to read them all out to you. That's not what the purpose of this is about. What I want to do is just share with you some of the evidential stuff, which sort of puts into question the way we have been doing CX measurement, oftentimes for the few decades now. So NPS surveys, let's take Net Promoter Score, which is a very popular approach. There's a number of faults, there's a number of issues with Net Promoter Score, and as it says there, but it doesn't take into account, for instance, customer demographics. Different types of customers may have different expectations and behaviors when it comes to recommending products or services. And for example, younger customers may refer more than older customers. It's not very scientific, is it? And what's the sample size these days? We'll talk about some percentages in a few minutes. Also, Net Promoter Score, unless it's actually tied in with some sort of root cause analysis, some Ishikawa analysis, if you want to put it that way, it's just a score on the door. It doesn't really tell us anything. However, as Fred observes, it can be gamified and manipulated. People game the system, especially when we hook Net Promoter Score up to our bonus schemes and our remuneration. Why would we do that? Because if it can be gamed, it will be gamed. So many stories of people leaving the car showroom and the guy started saying, what score are you going to give us on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is fantastic and 1 is 7? And they go, why not an 8 or a 9? Because our bonus is paid on that. And of course, we want to hook that. There were a few things went wrong, you might observe. No, I'm going to give you 7. Oftentimes, you won't even get the survey. How's that for being impartial and objective? It's not really, is it? Also, ratings. If you ask me to give you a score on a Monday, I'm going to give you a different score than I would on a Friday. I'm much better on a Friday. I feel better. The weekend's coming. It's got to be time off, time down. So those gamed systems can be easily manipulated, and that's not good for any of us. It's not giving us real data. However, you might say, hang on a minute, guys, NPS 3 is out. Fred Reichheld and team have launched that to the world now, which talks about earned growth and customer lifetime value. It still doesn't correct some of the defects that are inherent within the Net Promoter Score system. And in fact, it needs more data and is more complex. So how real are the numbers there when we're actually talking about it? So Net Promoter Score 3 carries some of the inherent weaknesses that Net Promoter Score did originally when it was launched 20 odd years ago, but now has exacerbated that by saying, yeah, but we're now using proper data. So how quickly can we get those calculations in? How quickly can we be able to do that? Another alternative to Net Promoter Score, customer satisfaction indices, customer satisfaction surveys, and all that sort of thing. It was one of the reasons why Sheldon Bain pushed forward with NPS, because they said asking for a score on a basis of 1 to 5 just doesn't give you enough illustration about how customers really feel. So we want the score to be on 1 to 10, right? God. No, I'm not going to go there. Don't worry about that. But CSAT surveys don't necessarily translate to higher customer loyalty. CSAT survey measures just one area or touch point, whereas we need to look at the complete experience, the total customer experience across the whole journey. Also, in terms of surveying, you look at those numbers there, and there's some links you can follow through later on when you get the deck, is over the last 20 years, survey returns have dropped from 36% to 7%. Now, I know organizations, they'll remain nameless, who say, no, it's more like 4 or 5%. We just sort of say it's higher because we don't want to seem like that. Now, how representative if it's 7%? Is 1 in 14, 1 in 15 of your customers giving you feedback? They might be compulsive survey completers. So representative would they be of other people? Also, external factors, moods, expectations, the overall context, when you ask the question, what stage in the experience is the customer actually at? And can they score the whole experience, or is it just one part of the experience? You might find your dealings with the call center are fantastic, but do they get to a successful customer outcome? Perhaps not. So what do I score? Do I score not getting to an SCO, or do I score the fantastic person I dealt with in the call center? Do I talk about the sales process and how that worked or didn't, as the case may be? So again, the subjectivity in there makes it questionable. The other aspect of measurement is a lot of people seem to measure everything that moves on the basis that if they collect enough measurement, they'll have enough science and objectivity. No, collecting flaky measures doesn't give you science and objectivity. And indeed, if we're thinking about that, it's rather like thinking the more we measure, the taller we'll grow and the faster we'll grow. How ludicrous is that's not the place to be, is it? So what we want to be doing is thinking about a measurement system which is representative of the time that we're in now, the third decade of the 21st century, not something begged, stolen and borrowed from the 20th century, which perhaps worked then when the world wasn't as changeable and agile and customers were less prone to being fickle and rebellious. What we want to do is have a measurement system which evolves with the times, which grows with the times, which is indicative of how we're performing at the moment. So what if I told you there's a better way? What would you feel about that? Would you be up for that? Yeah, of course we would. Anybody wants to know there's a better way than the way we're working. And a way that aligns CX to our organizational business strategies, actually aligns to the delivery of successful customer outcomes, and a way that helps you to improve customer retention, revenue growth, and profitability. And one idea in here is any CX measurement should help us to win the Triple Crown. In other words, that's a simultaneous growth in revenues, a reduction in cost, and improvement in service. We should be aiming to do that with anything we're doing around CX. So let's put some context around what we're going to be talking about next with this alternative. Is traditional measures there on the left-hand side, the 6 there. You may have a mix and match of some of them. You may have all of them. I don't know. And some people will say, oh, customer effort score. What is the effort the customer has to put in to actually achieve an objective? Go and measure it. Yeah, that's great. Fantastic. But should that thing that the customer is trying to achieve, does that deliver the real need? Is that a successful customer outcome? And customer effort is just one perception of the measurement of success. What about actually delivering against all the elements of success, the successful customer outcome matrix that we would refer to in some of our training and our consultancy? Now, the now measures, some people have moved on from MPS, CSAT, CES, customer journey analysis, and so on, and are using artificial intelligence. My goodness me, have we heard so much about that recently? But yeah, let's get that bolted in. Let's use chatbots, but let's use smart chatbots, not chatbots that are prescriptive, that in the end you end up talking to somebody anyway. Why not put somebody through to somebody in the first instance? How often does that happen? When you're dealing with a chatbot, it says, hey, I need to get you talking to a real live living person who can actually answer your question. That would be cool, wouldn't it? Machine learning as well. That's getting much better these days. Being able to actually develop patterns and rhythms about how customers behave at certain parts of the experience would be good. Now, I'm really interested in the right-hand column there, the future measures of success. And there's a few things that are coming down the pike. The area we're going to focus on today is called Customer Experience 6, CX6, and you'll see for why in a moment or two. Now, the CX6 is really around 6 aspects of experiences, journeys, processes that we interact with as customers and we deliver as organizations. Easy, fast, convenient, trackable, personalized, and predictive. Now, the ownership of this, one of our conspirators, if you like, a guy called James Dawkins, rockstar.cx, if you want to go and track him down, was one of the people who wrote about this a few years ago in the book Foundations for Customer Centricity. If you stay until the end, I'll be more than pleasurable to be able to offer that to you as well as an e-copy. And what James talks about in there is some of the case studies about some of the people who've really battened down this whole idea of measuring with objective, more scientific measures, which are forward facing, which are inclusive of the whole organization, and they're representative of the customer's real experience, not the perceived experience, and not an emotional measure. What we want to do is we want to be able to measure factually. So with that in mind, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask James to talk to you about that. And he puts this really well. There's some examples in there. When he's done that, I'll share with you some other examples, some recent examples. So with that in mind, I'll hand over to James.
Hello, everybody. James Dawkins here. How are you all doing? Wow, really? Yeah, this is pre-recorded, I can't hear you. Anyway, Steve Towers has asked me to talk to you about something customer experiencing. That customer experiencing thing is going to be the CX6. So let's dive in. Okay, so the CX6, let me tell you what it is. So first of all, there's 2 parts of customer experience, the way that I look at it. There's the what you do and there's the how you do it. So the what you do is that outcome, that successful customer outcome. That's what you need to deliver. Now, the how you do it is the experience, the journey. And the CX6 are 6 elements that you tend to find in really good customer experiences. And they are easy, fast, convenient, trackable, personalized, and predictive. So easy, reduce the number of customer steps in an experience. Fast, achieve the desired outcome quicker than a competitor or quicker than they can do it for themselves. Convenient, deliver the experience in the time and place that best suits the customer. Trackable, give transparency of process and progress to the customer. So essentially let them know what the process is going to be and then let them see where they are in said process. Personalized, make the experience unique and predictive. Anticipate needs and problems and capitalize on them or remedy them. So there you go, the CX6. Let me take you through them one by one. Make the experience have the least friction possible. Make me go through the least steps possible to achieve my goal. Make it simple, make it an efficient customer process. The best example I've got of this is the one-click buy with Amazon. It is so easy to do. It's taken so many steps in the traditional e-commerce purchasing experience where you've got to find the thing, then you've got to add it to your basket, then you go to the checkout, and then you've got to put in your details, then you've got to put in your address, then you've got to click on the... It's literally just turned all of that into one interaction, one click. I suppose like the one thing that's not easy about it is me having to keep explaining to my wife why I keep buying crap we don't need. Excuse me, who doesn't need a courgette spiralizer? But anyway, there you go, easy. Fast, help me achieve my goal quicker than a competitor can, or faster than if I were to do it by myself. So there's lots of backwards and forwards when it comes to customer experience. The customer does something, then we do something, then the customer does something, then we do something. If we can make our internal process a lot quicker, it makes the entire experience a lot quicker. Best example of this is from a company called Lemonade. They hold the world record for the fastest insurance acceptance and payout. So there you go. Any guesses as to how fast that was? No? Oh, no, not that. If I told you it was 3 days, you'd probably be very impressed. What if I told you it was 3 hours? Ooh. Yeah. What if I told you it was 3 minutes? It was 3 seconds. Yeah, so some guy had lost his coat. He left it on a train. Apparently he could claim through his insurance. It was one of those fancy like Canada Goose coats. It was like really expensive. Literally, he put the claim in on the app. Within 3 seconds, it accepted it and paid it out. Look, we spend so much time in our businesses administering our distrust of customers. What Lemonade have done is spent that time understanding which customers they can trust. So there you go, Lemonade, really fast. Make your experience fast. Next one is convenient. Be where I am and let me interact with you where and when is best with me. Don't make me do things that you can do for me. Take effort away. Best example of this probably is if you look at hotels, every single floor has got a vending machine and every single room has got a mini bar. Every single day, people are coming along restocking the mini bars. I have never seen one person ever restock the vending machines. That is because the mini bars, even though they cost more, are more convenient. To be fair, a really good example of this is online banks. So traditional banks are not very convenient. They've got brick and mortar stores in particular places, usually centred around large towns or cities, so you've got to actually travel to them to do your banking. They're only open from 9 to 5 every day, which is when you happen to be at work to earn the money to put in the bank. Whereas online banks and app-based banks have really made it so that they are with you 24/7 because they're in your pocket with an app. They're always open. They're just so convenient. It is convenient to do business with them. Now, some people say easy, fast and convenient are exactly the same. No, they're not. They're interlinked, yeah, but they're not the same. So you could have an experience that is easy. Let's say it's an insurance claim. It's easy because it's a one-click claim. It could be convenient because it's on an app, but it's not fast because it takes 7 years to get the money. It could be fast because you get an instant payout. It could be convenient because you can claim through an app, but it might not be easy because the actual claims form needs your entire ancestry records, your 23andMe data, your dental history, your blood type, your birth certificate. Or it could be easy because it's a one-click claim, fast because it's an instant payout, but it's not convenient because you have to do the claim at a kiosk in a store, and there's only one store in the country, and it's only open 1 day a year, and it's on top of a mountain. So there you go, easy, fast and convenient. They are similar but not the same. Now moving on to trackable. Let me know what the process is and let me know what my progress in the process is. Give me visibility, keep me updated and manage my expectations. A lot of this is about transparency, allowing the customer to see what process they're going to be going through and letting them see where they are in the process. There's been so many studies done that show 2 groups of people lined up waiting for the exact amount of time. The people that get told how long they're going to wait tend to underestimate how long they actually did wait. The people that don't have their expectations set, the people that don't get told how long they're going to wait, tend to overestimate how long they actually waited. So it's all about managing those expectations. Best, absolute 100% best example of this is the Domino's pizza tracker. It's just the best example of this completely in the world ever. It shows you the exact process you've got to go through and shows you exactly where you are in said process. There we go. Personalized. Know me, know my preferences and shape my experience accordingly. Make it mine, make the experience completely unique to me, or at least make it seem that way. There's a really good example of this that comes from a guy called Shep Hyken. You may have heard of the guy. He travels around the world talking about customer service, and he is a legend in the game. He's a real road warrior, spends a lot of time out on the road at conferences talking, I mean, he used to before the COVID thing, but anyway, spends a lot of time out on the road talking to people about this stuff. And he told me this story one time that he went to a hotel. As he checked into the room, on the table in front of him, there was a little shoe shine set. And he said, "This will work wonders on the shoes of a road warrior." I was like, ooh, that's pretty cool. But wait, there's more. Whereas I use music in my keynotes, Shep uses magic in his keynotes. I had a music career before, Shep had a magic career before. He used to be a magician. But next to his shoe shine kit, there was a 6-pack of beer called Staff Magician which I don't really know what that is, but it's some sort of beer that was local to the place he was at that said magician in the name. He thought, wow, but wait, there's more. Now, also, Shep plays guitar too. He's actually better than me, but don't tell anyone that I admitted that. But in the corner of the room, there was a guitar sat there with a little note that said, we know how much you like to make music and thought you might like to make some music while you're with us, from your friends at the Crown Plaza. And he was like, whoa, that is, but wait, there's more. So he went and did his thing for the day, got back to the hotel at night. Now the turn down service had been done, and on the pillow of his bed, instead of the usual mint on the pillow, there was actually a little chocolate bunny in a top hat, like a magician thing. You get it. But anyway, he went and spoke to the people and found out who was responsible for this. And he said, how did you manage to do this? And literally all they did was just Google his name. They said, we Googled your name, we looked at the information that you put out freely online, we saw what you liked, the type of life that you led, and we crafted your experience to be unique. Now that was a unique experience that they did that was very easy to do, very easy to find the information that no other customer will ever have. You don't really need to be fancy with this. You can personalize experiences in quite easy ways, and predictive. Know what is going on without me having to tell you. Know what I need before I do. Be one step ahead. Now, I love predictive experiences that know what's happening before I do, but I particularly love it when companies use it in this way. When companies predict that certain things happening in an experience will cause dissatisfaction. Now, predictiveness breeds proactiveness. So what these companies do is, once they have predicted that, oh, this thing has happened in the experience, you're probably not going to be very happy, they proactively put it right. They reach out before you have a chance to complain and put it right. They compensate in some way. So Deliveroo here, they have predicted that if your food is delivered after a certain period of time after they have said, you will be dissatisfied. So what they do is, if that happens, they will proactively reach out, apologise, and give you some sort of compensation. There's an example here from a company called Bulb, which is an energy company in the UK. And essentially, the lady here, Victoria, waited more than 6 days for a reply. And so they said, okay, we're going to credit your account with £10. You didn't have to ask us to do it. We just are being proactive and putting it right before you have a chance to complain. Now, the idea here is fix the experience in the experience. Don't wait for the complaint. Only 4% of dissatisfied customers are going to complain. The overwhelming majority of the rest of them are going to vote with their feet. If you're only fixing problems for the 4% that complain, you are missing a massive opportunity. So there you are. That is the CX6. Easy, fast, convenient, trackable, personalized, and predictive. And the way you can start to use it in your experiences is really easy. Now, there are different mechanisms, but the one I'm going to show you is the quickest and easiest one to do. You literally take the experience, and you sit down, whether it be by yourself or with a group of people, and the group of people, it could be a customer experience improvement team, or it could just be random people within the business. You don't need any sort of experience to be able to do this, but you ask the question, how do we make this experience easier? And you'll get ideas. How do we make this experience faster? And you'll get ideas. How do we make this experience more convenient? You'll get ideas. How do we make this experience trackable? You'll get ideas. How do we make this experience personalized? You'll get ideas. How do we make this experience predictive? You'll get ideas. So it's just 6 questions that you can start to ask that will give you ideas to improve your experience immediately. Then you can actually take it a step further and do something called the CX6 score. This is where essentially you take an experience and you score it against those 6 elements. So out of 10, how easy is it? How fast is it? How convenient is it? And you'll get a total score out of 60. Now, NPS is subjective. CSAT is subjective. All of these feedback mechanisms are subjective. This is also subjective, but at least you're not having to go out to your customers and say, hey guys, we've got no idea how good our experience is. Can you tell us, please? This allows you to proactively measure your experiences, an internal benchmark that you can improve your experience against. So there you go. The CX6 and the CX6 score. Easy, fast, convenient, trackable, personalized, predictive. Try it yourself today.
Thank you, James. So that's the CX6. So pretty straightforward. Interesting things, observationally around this in terms of people who are using it. You can measure the total experience, or you can just measure a part of it. You can measure all the interactions that customers are having with you. You can measure a chunk of the customers, the sales part of the journey, for instance, and things like that, and then apply these elements to it. Now, it is less subjective, as James was indicating there, than NPS or CSAT or many of the other sort of derivatives of those measures. And it allows you to know where you are now, where you could get to if you actually applied this thinking and how quickly it'll take for you to navigate to that place. So a very powerful mechanism, which anybody can access. You don't have to be a CX professional to be able to do that. Some examples of this. So let's have a look at the restaurant before and give you some sort of context for this. A restaurant, busy during the restaurant times, of course, they sat down, they ran the survey to themselves and said, how easy is it? We'll give ourselves 5 out of 10 because, hey, it could be a bit easier than we've made it at the moment, because of course we have to have 3 people tending each table. We have the person who, the maitre d', who welcomes you. We then have the waiter who comes along, and then we have the, hey, we could make that a little bit easier for the customer. Is it fast? But it depends on what's being ordered. Could we optimize the fastness there? Is it convenient? Yeah, we come to the table, but at the same time, you can't order ahead at the moment, for instance. That would be a useful thing. And as far as trackable, personalized, and predictive, no. So we give ourselves 15 out of 60. Now let's think about improving that now. And what's the future experience look like? We've improved across several of these elements, and we've also introduced this idea of being trackable, personalized, and predictive. So if we know who you are and you come to the restaurant quite often, we'll know what starters you tend to have. So we can ask you, would you like this starter? We have another variation on it. Would you like this or that? And already the organization's able to make and implement these changes, getting 32 out of 60. Still a long ways to go, but that's okay. What about a call center? What about the interactions the customer's having in the call center? How easy is it to do that? So these guys were doing a current and a future state comparison. The future, they were developing it using one of the approaches that we use within the models, that the CM method that we use, using innovation. And so they could predict and look at what the future state was going to be. In the current state, they scored 10 out of 60. In the future state, 34. So still some ways to go, especially around trackable and personalized. But these are calls to action. These are areas that we can continue to improve, continue to innovate across all these. So another one, student onboarding at a business school. So is it in the current state? Not very easy. 9 out of 60, pretty low score. What about the future state? Now you'll notice there's a decimal place here. I'm going to show you that in a moment or two, but you could score at each individual interaction. How easy was that interaction? Or a chunk of interactions, a chunk of moments of truth, or the entire experience. You're not asking the customer to give you a subjective score on the total experience when the experience itself might have a variation to them. So how do we capture those things? We have something called the CX6, which goes onto the dashboard. So as you can see the column that on the right-hand side, CX6, and this was against that student onboarding. Now, there were 7 moments of truth there, as you can see: receive info pack, complete application form, confirm final acceptance, blah, blah, blah. And then scanning to the right, we can score each element against the receipt of the information pack. And then we derive a set of averages, as I said, with the decimal point here. We can also look at, in terms of those interactions, which are the ones that we need to be improving the most. So as we can see, the lowest score across those interactions is completing the application form, which gets 5.7 out of 10. There's a lot of scope for improvement there. And we might ask ourselves, we could automate the application form. Oh no, that is a mess anyhow, because you have to fill your details in three times. And remember this particular case study because I was there in there helping them with it. But at the same time, what we could do is we could improve the overall. We could pre-populate the application forms if we already know of you. Why do we keep asking for the same information over again? We could also automate elements of the application process. Once we've simplified it, once we've innovated it, that would improve the score as well. So we put it onto dashboards like this, and these dashboards, we build them out in the certified journey management programs and the accredited customer experience programs as well, where this is one of the outputs towards the end of those programs, where we're assembling information about the experience through the customer's interactions. And we're looking at other things besides the measurement itself, is how proactive or reactive is this experience at each interaction? What happens if something goes wrong? So we create risk impact scores. Now, all these things going together in association with the CX6 give you this overall dashboard. So how do we harness that then? Within the CM method, and this is from the Certified Journey Management Program, you can see the ones that are highlighted in yellow there. That's the dashboard we just talked about. The CX6 is an element on that dashboard. And we also do a red, amber, green analysis. This is where we look at the measures that we've got in the organization and ask ourselves, are they outcome measured? Are they organized and aligned to delivering successful customer outcomes, or are they output measures? They're just really counting what we're doing. And accordingly, we can mark them in red if they're just measures of what we're doing, or in green if they actually link to a successful customer outcome. So those looking at these measurement systems and getting more scientific about it is underpinned by doing things like the CX6. So that type of approach within the CM method is a structured approach. Again, why do we want to be doing this? The majority of traditional measures are subjective. What might have worked in the last century is no longer fit for purpose anymore. We want forward-looking proactive measures, which we can predict and we can assess, and we know where we're going to improve first. Also, customer expectations are higher than ever now. So with that sort of fickleness that I referred to earlier on, that rebelliousness, the promiscuity of customers, and also expecting immediate responses these days. If they don't get it, if they've got a choice, they can vote with their feet. Tie these things in with AI, machine learning, predictive analytics, and things like that, and you have a very powerful, meaningful system, which goes way beyond all that subjectivity and perception feeling measurement systems, which are just not fit for purpose anymore in the third decade of the 21st century. So what are the summary of the benefits associated with the CX6? We can understand customers better by optimizing interactions across the entire experience. We can be focused against which parts of the experience we look at. It collects more relevant distant data. It doesn't require you to have a degree, an MSc in computer science to be able to do this. It's also balanced from the point of view in terms of that focus across the entire experience allows you to then prioritize where you're going to pay attention to. It looks at enhancing customer relationships by delivering more value and satisfaction. It also allows us to contrast and compare other organizations' experiences, score them against the CX6. How do we compare against them? So rather less than the mystery shopping, let's just go out and sample some of the experiences of our competitors and people who are in the same line of work that we are. It also creates an ownership and an empowerment with individuals within the organization if you're managing across these 6 elements, because you can see which part of the experience you belong to. How easy are you making it? How convenient have you got it? Is it trackable? Is it predictive? And you could be working on that as a constant thing, not as a project or a local initiative. And also tying this in with predictive analytics allows you to put data-driven insights into those 6 elements. So act on now rather than fixing the past. That's what this CX6 is all about. Now, you may have seen in the chart earlier on a CX6 Plus. That's a talk for another day, but it's how do we make this objective? How do we make it impartial? And how do we make it into a real science, right? Because this is the stepping stone. The CX6 is so much better than it was before. So what have we covered? We've covered the flaky measurement systems that many of us are still dependent on these days. We've hooked those flaky measurement systems into our bonus schemes, and not surprisingly, they get gamed, all right? What we need is a modern measurement system. That's what the CX6 is. It's a system that was designed for the third decade of the 21st century. It works now because of the volatility of the customers. It allows us to understand both the experience, the processes and the systems, and the people that support those experiences. It allows us to drive innovation and differentiation in our marketplace. We've also looked at several examples. James gave you some. I've walked you through 3 or 4 examples in the recent books that we've written, and also in the ones that you're going to be able to get access to once we've finished this walkthrough. You will be able to see other examples and case studies which take a deeper dive than what we're doing in this web class. So what got you into the room was this idea of 7 deadly sins. So what are they? What are these 7 deadly sins? Well, there they are. They're listed for you. But I think the biggest one is the manipulation of selfish objectives of a lot of people who've seen the ability to actually bend the scores in around net promoter scoring systems and things like that to their own devious and selfish objectives. So thanks to Fred Reichel for drawing our attention to that. And hey, good luck with NPS 3, but it still suffers all those problems and difficulties, calculations, customer lifetime value, earned growth ratios and things like that. It's too complicated. It should be simple. And that's what the CX6 is. Ultimately, it's a simple measurement system. So what have I got to offer at the end of this? Besides getting access to the books, which you can do through that web address there, There's also the Certified Journey Management, which is a 2-day program, normally retailing at $2,000. For today only, if you book directly after this call or in the next few hours, it's half price. It's less than half price, actually. And the Accredited Customer Experience Master Program, which is a 4-day program where we do very much hands-on, can be in the room. So it can be customized to an organization. So if you've got a group of people you want to do, that's fantastic. It's also available online and live and then recorded for later. Typically, we sell that at $2,495 for today only. Today only. It's $1,295. So if you book with that link there, you'll get your discounts as well. So in addition to that, go along to get the discounts to those programs. Also, for the price of $1, you can have this deck, which goes, as you see, into why CX6 is required. Get the recording when our friends at Zoom have compiled it for us. And also, I'll give you the transcript. A couple of books you're going to get. Outside In, completely updated for 2021, originally written in 2010, but things don't stand still, do they? So new case studies in there and that type of thing. Also, James Dawkins' Foundations for Customer Centricity, where we talk about some of the early examples of this. So it's entirely up to you. Go along to that web address and fill your socks, fill your boots, and enjoy yourselves. And hopefully I'll see you on an upcoming program very soon. So with that in mind, let me check the chat room, see if there's any questions. No questions in the chat room. That's good. If you want to get hold of me offline, I think you know where I am. stevetowers@gmail.com.